What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers. And joining me this week, of course, for our Tennessee Vols weekly recap is the man himself, Mr. Joey Klinkskill. Joey, how you doing this afternoon, sir?
I'm great. How are you today?
I am doing good this afternoon, Mr. Klinkskill, talking to Vols as always, like we do each and every Tuesday. And of course, you got to stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because we have our legend, our Tennessee Vols legend here coming up, of course, once we're done recapping the Vols and their upcoming matchup this week, as well as recapping what happened last week. So without further ado, before we get started, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and we will get into the action right now. So, Joey, as we know, Tennessee comes off a big win last week, 56 for the Vols against Kentucky, getting 34 on the day. So what was a big takeaway you had from this matchup? Obviously, Tennessee's offense came to play. Defense, like we talked about, still a little bit to be desired, but hey, a win's a win, and you got to win against a good SEC team.
Yes. That was a trap game for Tennessee. They had just come off the loss versus Alabama. You have Oklahoma sitting in the wings, and now you're facing Kentucky. So it was easy to look forward. But I was proud of how they played versus Kentucky. Obviously, the defense needs to continue to improve, show improvement on a lot of different levels. But offensively, I think we got back on track. We were able to throw the ball vertically down the field. The run game started to materialize a little more. So all in all, it was a good week for Vol Nation.
So you mentioned the defense, and let's kind of hone in on that. So this is the, I believe, fourth game in a row the Vols defense has given up 30 points or more. So obviously some ways you need to improve there. But let's talk about it as we kind of get near towards the end of the season. Tennessee has 4 games remaining on the schedule. Oklahoma, which we'll talk more about here in just a minute, followed by New Mexico State, Florida, and then you end the season, of course, at the moment, number 9, ranked Vanderbilt. So a who's who of teams you have here to end the season. Joey, let's hone in on these defensive lapses Tennessee's had here over the past really pretty much all season, but it's really been kind of key in on the last few weeks.
Yeah, defensively, Tennessee's got a lot of work to do, and week after week I've come on and we've talked about that. However, I'm not sure they've really addressed it to the point of emphasis per se, from the standpoint of, I think we're averaging giving up around 32 points a game. I think we've held 2 opponents under 30, one to 17 and one to 20 or 22, whatever it was. However, you can't continue to give up that many points because you put the offense in a position to where they feel like they need to score every time they touch the ball. Because if they don't, defensively, we haven't shown the ability to hold teams consistently under 20 points.
Yeah, that's been an issue for Tennessee. And, what's the old saying that if you play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And that's what's happened with Tennessee against, good teams. We saw like with Alabama, they just kind of ran through them a few weeks ago. But an overall, a good bounce back win. Like I said, one that we thought was a trap game. In Tennessee, we said don't fall victim to it. We know you're looking ahead to Oklahoma, but it was a good win overall. Like I said, the offense, bright spot there. That was they tied for the most amount of their second most amount of points scored this season with 56. So they were looking good as a whole on that side of the ball. But let's talk about Oklahoma. The Sooners currently ranked number 18 in the nation. They're coming off a tough loss to Ole Miss, final score in that one, 34-26. So let's talk about the Oklahoma Sooners here and how you think they're going to react after a tough loss to the Rebels.
Well, I think this would be a tough game for Oklahoma. Obviously, they're on the road at Tennessee, a place that will be rocking, I'm sure, this upcoming weekend. The quarterback is coming off a broken hand, and before he got hurt, he was arguably the best quarterback in the country. And he hadn't played quite as well since he's come back with the broken. He had the surgery on this throwing hand. So, and it showed a little bit versus versus Ole Miss. Some of the throws that he made, he was able to sell them high, and on the Hail Mary, he really couldn't get the ball to the end zone. But he is a good quarterback, and each week he's going to get better and better. And defensively, coming into the Florida game, I keep saying Florida, coming into the Ole Miss game, Oklahoma's defense was ranked in the top 5 in the country. So that's how good they are defensively. They have a linebacker, Kip Lewis, who makes a ton of plays all over the field. So they will be a formidable opponent for Tennessee for sure.
Yeah, I think that, like I said, Oklahoma, they're always going to have a solid program, on both sides of the ball, just based off the recruits they get each and every single year, every recruiting class. They have some good players. Like I said, I think John Mateer, like I said, he's still battling back from that injury. But, I mean, prior to that, a lot of people were pegging him as, he's the top quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. And don't get me wrong, he's still there. He's just working through that injury.
Right.
And still a handful of games left in the season. I think he can get back to form like we saw earlier in the season. So let's talk playoffs here, Joey. Tennessee, they're knocking on the door, number 14 in the nation, but it's only top 12. They only take top 12, and there is a litany of especially SEC teams in the top 12 currently. I mean, you have teams, of course, like Georgia, like Alabama, like Ole Miss, as we just mentioned, of course, and Vanderbilt, who they have later on in the season to end the year, are just a few ones behind them. Like we mentioned, the team they're facing here this upcoming weekend, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Missouri Tigers right behind them at 19. So there's a lot of shuffling the deck, I think, in the last 4 weeks of the season. Does Tennessee have a chance to crack the top 12?
Well, I'll put it this way. If Tennessee wins out, they'll go to the playoffs. Okay. But they have, at this point, they have zero room for error. Now, will teams in front of them lose? Possibly. Okay. And that's what you're going to have to bank on. Really coming down the stretch that somebody's going to lose. You're going to play great. You're going to beat teams ahead of you. So you're going to move up. But they have zero room for error because one loss will put them back so far that even the help they may get from somebody else probably won't help them because they at that point will be a 3-loss football team that's not playing in the championship game. So I would be surprised if they lose another game that they would make the playoffs. It's right now. It's I'm being facetious, but it's playoffs or Citrus Bowl. So you have to take each game, as I've said every week, each game as its own entity, faceless, nameless opponent. Let the work you do during the week show up on Saturdays. Starting with Oklahoma, you can't look past Oklahoma to homecoming to New Mexico State. You can't look to Florida. You can't look to Vanderbilt. You have to take Oklahoma and. Oklahoma has a path to the playoff as well. So you can derail Oklahoma by winning your game. So it's important that we play a really sound game, especially defensively at home. It'll be a big game. I'm confident the offense will show up, but defensively we have to we have to be able to stop Mateer and those guys on Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah, essentially for this game, if you're Oklahoma, you're pretty much playing do or die football right here.
Yes.
Because, like I said, you're 18, you're a handful of spots out, and you cannot lose another SEC matchup. That would be their third, I believe, of the year. And for Tennessee, also, I feel like they still have a little bit of leg room, even if they do lose this game, because it is against a top 25, top 20 ranked team. So they have maybe a little bit of room to work with, but it's still not one you ever want to, fall on that.
Well, I would say this. I would say, from a committee standpoint, if you're looking at Tennessee's resume, you're looking at Oklahoma resume, and one of those teams lose this week, which one of them will, who is your quality win? So Tennessee would have played Georgia, they would have played Alabama, they would have played 3 really good teams coming into this, and they don't have a quality win per se. Their next chance for a quality win after Oklahoma is Vanderbilt. I mean, Florida is probably the big game, but the Florida game, a win in Florida will not gain you any points in the eyes of the committee. The Vanderbilt game will, more than likely. However, what big games have you won? You can't put your imprint on going to the playoffs if you have not won a big game. And the same could be said to Oklahoma to a certain extent. So you have to go into this with the mindset of I have to win and almost being in a playoff mode now.
Yeah, and boy, just talking real quick about Oklahoma, they have a very tough schedule to end the year. My goodness. I mean, we mentioned Ole Miss last week. You lost to them, but you got Tennessee, follow that up with Alabama, and then you end the year against Missouri and then LSU, who's going through some changes right now. But man, what a very much a back heavy load for Oklahoma. But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, we kind of eat
when
our
these
own in
schedules
this
are made.
division.
Yeah, there it is.
Eat our own in this division. We can be our own worst enemy sometimes.
Oh man, you're not kidding. And that's what the SEC is all about. And I mean, that's been said for years and years on end, but it feels like more so, these last handful of years than ever, the SEC is just a very tough division. Obviously, Big 12's up there as well, with all the amount of ranked teams they have this season.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about one more player here, someone who's yet to make their debut this season that's hoping to help out the Vols in these last stretch of games. Let's talk about cornerback Jermon McCoy. We know he has not played at all since January of this year, and he's recovering from a torn ACL in his leg. So, we're a handful of games left. Obviously, you want him back in the corner slot to help out your defense. Is there a chance that we see him at all this upcoming season, or do you think that his camp might say let's just hold out, let's not rush back, and we'll come on? But it's a tough call with a handful of games left, and obviously battling a serious injury like this.
Yes, it's a really tough call for him to come back at this point. If he's not 100%, then you don't come back. You don't risk another injury. He's at a point where, he's predicted to be a first-round pick. So you don't want to come in and re-injure a knee, come in and look bad. I mean, because he's going to be rusty. I have not been to practice there, so I don't know if he's practicing or not. He's not practicing. I'm assuming he's doing some things on the side if every week we're talking about him coming back. So I'm sure he's working out and he's doing some things preparing to come back. However, I just don't know if he doesn't play this week versus Oklahoma, the likelihood of him coming back and not being rusty, I think are pretty slim. So if he doesn't come back this week, I'm not sure he's going to come back and play all year. I'm not sure it makes sense for him and his camp to come back and play. And I know that's not the news that the Tennessee faithful want to hear, but from a personal level, from the kid, if he and his camp are looking at this, I'm not sure there's a whole lot to be gained positively, personally, for him coming back if he doesn't play versus Oklahoma.
Yeah, and we'll see as we get a little bit closer to the game. We're filming this on a Tuesday afternoon, so still a handful of days left before we see if he's going to be in the starting lineup or any amount of snaps for Tennessee this weekend. Best of luck to him still as he recovers. We hope to see him this season, but if not, then we understand and we wish him the best as he continues that recovery from his ACL injury. All right, well, Joey, that has been our Tennessee portion of the program, talking about their recap and, of course, their preview. Now it's time for a segment we all love here, and that's talking legends, that's talking about games and players and teams of Tennessee's past. And today we are talking about a kind of a two-way start here with special teams and, of course, on offense, Mr. Stanley Morgan. Let's talk about Stanley. Mr. Clinkscale, what made you want to pick this legend and highlight him this week?
Well, a long time ago, I used to work out with Stanley when I lived in Memphis, and he was still playing. It was on the back end of his career with the Patriots, and then right before he played with the Colts. But if you look at his career at Tennessee and in the National Football League, he had an amazing career. He was a two-time All-SEC player. He was a punt returner, and he was a running back at Tennessee. Obviously, he had a nickname for people that remember of Stanley Steamer. But he was a running back. He was super twitchy and explosive as a returner and as a running back. He was the first running back ever at Tennessee to rush for over 200 yards in a game. So that tells you a lot about who he was as a running back. And then he gets drafted in the first round by the Patriots. And the first 6 years of his career, I believe he's the only, to this day, he's the only player through the first 6 years of his career to average over 20 yards of reception. And even today, that's hard to do. Yeah. And for a career which spanned, I think, 13 years, he averaged 19.2 yards a catch, which is, impressive, especially with the way things have evolved from the time he got in the league to the time he left the league. That was when some of the changes in the passing game occurred in the National Football League. So he was a really impressive athlete. He was a track guy on the track team in Tennessee, but he could really run. He was really twitchy and he was explosive. That's the thing that people don't realize. And again, he was a borderline Hall of Famer. He's NFL Hall of Famer, that is. He's been nominated a handful of times. But again, I mean, we're talking about a guy that was really explosive and had a great NFL career as a returner and a receiver. And I want to say, and I'll have to check the stats, that he was the quickest, and that may have changed over the last couple of years. He was the quickest to 10,000 yards as a receiver in the National Football League. So that's telling you a little bit about who Stanley Morgan was as a football player.
Yeah, and of course, it was just announced this month that he is going to be advancing in the NFL Hall of Fame, their seniors category. So hopefully one step closer to Stanley, of course, with the gold jacket, getting enshrined with all the greats in Canton. So best of luck to him. But looking back at his career, like you mentioned, he's, Mr. Dependability. You ask him to do something, he'll go out there and he will get it done, whether it's punt returns, which he was electric at, whether it was the receiving game, which he, like you mentioned, his NFL highlights, but in college, no slouch either. And of course, a little bit of running as well. In college, I mean, he if you asked, this is a Travis Hunter-esque player, a Devin Hester, who could just, if you need a big play, if you need the momentum swung in your direction, just give Stanley the ball, and he'll get you, 6 points, or he'll get you a big gain. But someone who's just been super impressive. I mean, across, Tennessee, really all started once he got in his sophomore year. He did some good work there in the running game, and also got 11 rushing touchdowns in his sophomore season. His junior year, first player, like you mentioned, to rush for 200 yards in a game for Tennessee. So he'll always have that accolade. I believe he still holds the all-purpose yards record for Tennessee, just over 4,600. And also he's tied with the most career touchdowns. He has 39. So, I mean, you just look record books, you're going to see Stanley somewhere in the top 3, top 5 in a lot of offensive categories. Like in rushing touchdowns, he's got 28. That's top 3. Like you mentioned multiple times, all SEC honors in his career. Got a lot of, good quality work done. And then went to the NFL and continued. I mean, he just continued his success. No drop-offs at all. New England, he got retired there in I believe 2007. So that proves that they thought a lot of him, and that with Stanley when he was drafted in 77, first round overall pick, number 25 overall, I believe, for New England, and he just got a lot of really good work done. 4-time Pro Bowler. Once he retired from the game, like you mentioned, after 13 seasons, which is already just incredible. You can play that long at two skill positions like that. He held the Patriots records for receptions, receiving yards, and also touchdowns. And of course, we know what he did whenever they won the championship game in '85 and how well he played there. And of course, who could forget Joey? Baltimore Colts fans look away. 170 yards in a single game. Just a kind of a stamp of approval there for his work done in New England, and kind of enshrining himself as, obviously a Patriots legend, where they honored him, 15 plus years ago. And, fingers crossed for all of us here on the show and all Tennessee and New England faithful that he can, get enshrined in Canton here in a little while. But Joey, let's get your final thoughts here on, of course, the Volunteers, their upcoming matchup, and any other final words you have on the legend we're recapping. We're talking about here today, Mr. Stanley, the Steamer Morgan.
Well, I'll start with Stanley. Like I said, he was a phenomenal football player. Again, he was a running back at University of Tennessee.
Yep.
And returner, and went to the NFL as a receiver. They made him a slot receiver, outside receiver, because, he had speed. He was twitchy. He had great hands. And he wore those tearaway Tennessee jerseys they used to wear back in the 70s, which were great. Everybody watching football on Saturdays, with Congress Hathaway and those guys, the tearaway shirts, they were great as a football fan, looking at those when you're young. But then, he went on to have a outstanding NFL career. So we're pulling for him to get in the Hall of Fame. This week versus Oklahoma for Tennessee is a big game. It's actually the biggest game of the year, because there are a lot of implications that can happen, both winning and losing this game. So for them to continue to have an eye on the playoffs, this is a game that they desperately need. They need to find a way to win this game. The defense needs to find a way to step up. Offensively, we need to be able to control the time possession and score when we have the opportunity. All touchdowns, no field goals in the red zone. I think those are some of the keys to victory. But defensively, Oklahoma's a good team. So it'd be great if we can control the time of possession.
Yeah, big factor there, especially like I said, late in the ball games like this. You've ran through a lot of plays. There's a lot of footage on your team now. So sometimes it's the small things like the time possession, those crucial third downs. Those are the ways that you get these victories late into the season. And especially, like I said, if you're both these teams, both Tennessee and for Oklahoma, fighting, scratching, and clawing your way, hopefully to crack that top 12 at the end of the year and have a chance at winning a national championship. Those are the things you got to do. And we hope here for Tennessee they can pull off a big win against Oklahoma. It's going to be a tight matchup, but hopefully the Vols can pull it out. And, of course, for Stanley Morgan, love talking about him today, highlighting his career, not just at Tennessee, but, of course, with the New England Patriots after his 13 years in the league. Well, for Mr. Joey Klinkskill, thank you as always, sir. Always a pleasure talking some Volunteers football, both past, present, and, of course, the future. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, enjoy your weekend. Go watch some Tennessee football. Go check out some Stanley Morgan highlights as well. And until next time, we'll see you on another live